Hi guys, it's Howard again. Today we're reviewing another interesting Canon SLR, the Canon AL-1, the very last A-series Canon camera, a relatively rare and underappreciated camera from 1982. There are those who would say that the Canon A-series of cameras started off with a bang but finished with a whimper, and I can understand that because the first A-series camera was the famous AE-1 from April 1976. One of the great all-time amateur SLR cameras. The cameras that followed were the AT-1, December 1976, the A-1, 1978, the AV-1, 1979, the AE-1 Program, another very highly regarded model in 1981, and then finally the AL-1 in 1982. Unfortunately, across most of these models, the battery door was a weak point, and numerous doors broke. So you would think, but by the time they got around to the AL-1 that problem would have been addressed. But no, it had the worst battery door of all. And there are camera reviewers out there who have researched this aspect and feel that up to 95% of all AL-1 battery doors are broken. The AL-1 has a lot of electronics within that rather attractive body, and without batteries it's simply a good-looking paperweight. Despite this issue, it has a number of excellent features. Okay, let's have a look at mine. Okay, we'll just have a look at it. Oh, the battery door is broken. Surprise, surprise. Unfortunately, actually, in some ways it's good because you can pick them up cheaply if they've got a broken battery door, but at least mine has the metal plate still on it and it's still hinged. So as long as the metal plate's there, there are remedies. The first remedy is you can simply pack a bit of folded paper under there and then use some gaffer tape and tape it up. Or if you've got the original leather case it came in, once again you can fold up some paper underneath so it applies pressure and fit it into the case and screw it down. So that should work as well. I got a bit more carried away than that. I'll just put the batteries in. I had a piece of aluminium strip sitting around in the garage, so I opted for that instead. It's a bit over the top, but at least it works and it looks a bit better than tape. Okay, so I can put the batteries in, open the door there, just simply turn it around, screw it down, and it's putting the required pressure on. If I want to take the film out, I can simply angle it up a bit and press the rewind button. So anyhow, let's ignore that for the rest of the exercise. As you can see, it's a good looking camera. It's got a very nice grip on it. It takes all the FD and FD new lenses. Now, one of its big features, it's not autofocus, but it's an electronic assisted focusing system. This required a special mirror. So hopefully you can see there, the mirror has a lot of lines etched through it in a very complex pattern. And if you lift the mirror under here, in the back, there's a little window there, and that's a phase detection, little phase detection device. So basically what happens is when the light comes in onto the mirror, some of the rays pass through it, and when they're in phase, the focus, whatever you're focusing on is in focus. Within the viewer, there are two red arrows, left and right, and a green dot in the middle. As you focus, you simply focus in the direction of the arrow, and when you're in focus, the green light comes on. So it works pretty well, and I must admit I tend to focus and then use it to confirm, but either way you do it, certainly for people who have less than stellar eyesight, it's probably a very good focusing aid. I'll just put the lens back on. It looks a bit naked without it. Okay, The QF on here is for the quick focus. The AL-1, there's a little red window up here and on top, which is for the time delay. It's about 10 seconds. I'll show you that in a minute. We won't talk about the lens because it's a standard Canon FD 1.4 SSC lens, but you can fit any of that era of Canon lens onto it. Also on the side here, there's a little button you can press, and that'll give you 2 stops of overexposure. So if you're rather than take a photo of some of the bright background and end up with a silhouette, if you hold this in as you take the photo, it'll give you 2 stops. So the person should be much better illuminated and the background will be blown out, but that's the preferable option. Okay, let's have a look on top. Over here we've got there's a little plastic tab around the front on this black ring, and that adjusts your ISO. So it goes from 25 ISO all the way around to 1600. So it's reasonably versatile in that respect. You just got to hold the button down, click it around till you get the number you want. 200, 150. Okay. There's a battery check button on the front, so if you press the button, it should go up above the 125th line, somewhere up around the 125th, 250. That means the batteries are okay. They're just standard AAA batteries, so they're really easy to... I mean, that's one of the advantages of this camera. It just uses AAA batteries. But unfortunately, those AAA batteries put a fair bit of pressure on the battery door, and that's why so many of them broke. We've got a fairly standard hot shoe. It'll take, I've got a 188 Canon flash, and that'll work fine in this. Now, you make sure that if you've got a lens with A for automatic, you never use that, because this is a aperture priority system. So you select your aperture, it selects the speed. So for that, you have this around onto A. You hear it click into place. And so that's all you have to do. Select your aperture, and it's going to select the shutter speed. They're infinite, between 2 seconds and 1,000th of a second. So it's a very accurate system. It's not like having to go between 4 and 5.6 where there's quite a difference. Here it's picking exactly the speed that suits the aperture you've chosen. So theoretically, at least, exposure should be absolutely spot on. To change it off A, and there's no need to, although you press the top button in and then you can turn it, and then after that it just clicks around into the various settings. You can use it manually. I'm not sure why you would, but you can by half pressing, looking in the window, and you'll see the needle will, whatever aperture you've chosen, the needle will point to the right speed. So using that, you can then select the speed closest to it manually, or if you want to underexpose or overexpose, it's giving you a guide to do that. But for most purposes, just leave it on A. Also, you can't half press and refocus, so that's one drawback this camera does have. It's got an absolutely lovely shutter advance. Pretty dark in here, as you can hear. I'm aiming it at a black keyboard, so that's why it's got about 1 second exposure on f4. Let's take it around to 1.4. That's better. Okay, but it's a very nice camera to use. It's got a little device around here. It's got 3 positions. That's for time exposure, not time exposure. Self-timer, auto delay, so you can run around and get in front of the camera. That's the normal position, and around there is locked, and it shows that on the front here. So you've got a little line there, so it's L for locked, A for automatic, and that's the self-timer position. And in this case we get about 10 seconds of the little LED. It speeds up as it's getting closer to the time, and okay. Now it looks like it's all metal, but it isn't. But it's a high quality product. The top is polycarbonate, bottom of polycarbonate. The body is an aluminium alloy. It weighs about 590 grams, I think, so without a lens. So it's not a light, cheap thing. It's very, very nicely constructed. What else can I tell you about it? Well, I guess we can have a look inside it. Another advantage of my aluminium is you can open the back. Okay, so inside it's very traditional. It's a normal film chamber. It's got a cloth shutter. It doesn't like firing at the moment because the back's open, I think. Very standard. Oh, there we go. Very standard loading system. Just drop the cassette in, push it down, make sure the forks have engaged, drag it across, feed it into the slot, wind it through, make sure the teeth are fitting on the sprocket holes, close the back, take up the slack, and when you wind it, oh, it's on the it was on the timer. Yeah, just take up the slack, and when you wind it forward, that should turn with it, so that'll tell you it's winding through okay. The viewfinder, you've got a little focus square in the middle. You've got all the speeds up the right-hand side, a nice clear needle, so it's all good to see. People with glasses like me have no problem using this camera, and so when you select your aperture, half press it, it'll show you exactly what speed it's using. And if it's too slow or too fast, then you've got the option of changing the aperture. But aperture priority, I think, for most photographers is preferable over shutter speed priority. So, because this is totally infinite speeds between 1 second and 2 seconds and 1/1000th, it's a very good system. I put a film through this camera. Luckily, I bought it for $35 without the lens at a camera fair some time back. I thought I was getting an AE one. I misread the lettering, and when I got home I discovered it was an AL-1. But anyhow, I've made the most of it, and it's a very good camera. In some ways, it's better than the AE one in as much as it's aperture priority, and I think that's a preferable thing. Certainly, I find that preferable. Well, that's about it. The only major drawback is you can't half press and recompose. That's a bit annoying, but other than that, it's a great little camera. So that's about all I can say about it, I'd say. Well, look, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. And so thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.